You start out with a theme, and in the case of a public work, you want to be as creative, as individual as possible, but also very respectful of the story that the client wants to tell. So I begin with research. The critical thing for me is content knowledge. You can't invent this stuff and fairly represent the community. So I did archival research. I had a research assistant. We gathered photographs that were descriptive of the time and place and the workers that created all of this. When we had gathered all of this archival material and when content knowledge seemed pretty firm, I started making drawings. And of course, with a huge project like this, where each of the paintings was to be 16 feet tall and had to be done on scaffolding, you can't improvise on that scale. So that meant that I had to solve a great many problems prior to stepping up to those giant white panels. I worked on all of them concurrently. So I set them all up in the studio, and I would get all of them done at about a 10 or 15% level. And then I'd tackle them all again and get them done to a 30% level. So none of them was finished before any others. They were all brought up together. And there are reasons for this. One is that while I develop these pieces, I'm always learning things in number 1 that I apply to number 3, or learning things in number 4 that I apply to number 2. So I want them all to develop at the same time because there's a kind of dialogue between them. I was concerned with the dignity of the people involved. You have to remember that some of these jobs that were done were very, very hard, and they were done by people who had very few of the advantages that life has to offer. For instance, there's a panel about the African American experience in the railroad. The dining car waiters, the sleeping car porters, and the red caps. And then to some extent there were some cosmetic workers, women. The others were all men. They lived very, very difficult lives and worked incredibly hard for little money. But they were people of great talent and great industry who aspired for their children to be educated. And I wanted to portray their work, which was essentially servile work, as work that was done by people of tremendous dignity and self-esteem, and who did their work with a real sense of purpose, leading to a better future for their children. My family and I live in a converted church. It's a fellowship hall and church of the Lake Claire Baptist Church in Atlanta. So I have a very big studio. We live above, and I descend. It's a little bit like an old Eastern European family living over the store. I get up in the morning, have breakfast, walk downstairs, big studio that has a stage in it. My children learn to ride bicycles in my studio. And I'm in my own world. It's a little like raising a child, you know, that you instill values and you try to raise that child in a wonderful way, knowing that after you're gone, that child has to play a meaningful role in his or her culture. That may be a little bit of a far-fetched analogy, but there's a sense in which I feel that when I'm no longer around, those paintings will be there and they're going to represent me. And in that sense, you really do connect with them emotionally because they're what you're leaving behind.